Morning students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. So in today's video we are going to discuss about a recent incident that has made into the news headlines is the Iranian football players who have participated in the ongoing Football World Cup in the Qatar have decided to join the protest that is rocking the country from almost 2 months. The protest is regarding to the right of wearing or not wearing the hijab, and that is why it is also being known as popularly as anti-hijab protest in the Iran. So let us try to understand this whole topic in more detail. So first of all, to give you a brief idea about what the whole incident was, the Khalifa International Stadium, the place where the Football World Cup match was being organized in the city of Doha, which is also the capital of Qatar, the Iranian football team, in their opening match against the rival England, they have decided to remain silent. And in what respect they have decided to remain silent? So it is in this respect of the playing of Iranian national anthem. Because if we talk about the general rule, or we can say the general practice, is that whenever any national team's national anthem is played, generally the national team also participate in the singing of the national anthem. However, the Iranian football team had decided not to participate in singing of the national anthem in their show of solidarity in the with regard to the protesters that are participating in Iran and also putting their life at the risk. So this is a very courageous gesture, as has been highlighted correctly by the media. However, we have to understand this is not the first case in the sports arena where any sports team has decided to join the ongoing protest in their home country. Before that, for example, even in recent times, when the Black Lives Matter protest was erupting violently in the United States of America, many sportsmen from the USA also have decided to join the protest. And to show the solidarity toward this protest, they have decided to take the knee. That means they go on one knee before the beginning of the match. And this was a common practice that began in different countries as well. Even if you go back in the past, then Muhammad Ali also has participated in similar kind of protest whenever he was in the arena of the match. Now, before going into details about what this protest is all about, why this protest has erupted, what is the nature of the protest, and how the government of Iran has responded, we're also going to discuss about that what the future of the Iran holds as far as this particular protest is concerned. But before going to that much detail, let us first try to understand the geography of the Iran. So as we know, Iran is considered as a West Asian country, which is at the boundary of the Southeast Asia or South Asia as well as the European regions. So here we can see on the map of this world, this is the Iran. And Iran is basically surrounded by Caspian Sea, which is a very important water body on the north, and Persian Gulf as well as the Strait of Hormuz in the south. Thus, Iran holds a very important geostrategic location because this whole region of Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, which finally opens into the Indian Sea via Arabian Sea, is a very important oil transportation or crude oil transportation network. So that is why Iran's position is very important. Apart from that, if we talk about the overall geography of the Iran, we can see on the northwestern side, Iran is surrounded by two mountains, the Zagros Mountains in the south and the Elburj Mountains in the north. Similarly, as we move to the east of the countries, we have a large part of the Iran that is kind of desert area, and two notable deserts here we have that stands out, whose name we also have to remember. As far as the UPSC prelims examination is concerned, these facts can be very important. So Iran, in the northern part of Iran, as we can see, the most notable desert is known by the name of Daste Kabir, and to the southeast of this Daste Kabir desert, we have another desert that is called as Daste Lut. The highest point of Iran is Mount Damavan, and Mount Damavan is basically a extinct volcano. If we talk about the southern part of Iran, so we have a very notable port that is called as Bandar Abbas port, and also nearby we have another port that is called as Chabahar port, where India was also interested in development of the port so that India can transit its various goods via the Chabahar port to Iran, and from Iran to Caspian Sea, and then further from Caspian to the Central Asia, or even to the far farthest corners of the Europe. So that is all about the geography of the Iran. Now, if we talk about the religion and ethnicity of the Iran, so first of all, if we try to look at the map of Iran, we can see that majority of the Iranian population are Persian ethnicity. That means in the term of exact number, 48.2% of Iran's population are Persian. Then the next highest group is made by Azeri, that is 17.1%. Now, Azeris are the ethnic groups that also have made up one of the largest country in this region, that is Azerbaijan. Then we have the other minority groups such as Kurds. They make up a large proportion, almost 10% of the Iran's population. And then we have the other several small ethnic groups such as Mazani, Arab, Baloch, Gilak, Turkmen, and Kashkai, like that. So overall, we talk about the three largest ethnic groups of Iran are Persian, Azeri, and Kurd in that particular order. If we talk about the religion of the Iran, so almost 32.2% of Iranian population follow Shiites, we can say Shiite, belong to the Shiite sect of Islam, while 22.2% of the population have said that do not follow any religion. But overall, we talk about in the majority of the sense, in strict sense, Iran is largely a Shiite country, followed by several other sect of Islam, such as they have Sunni Muslims, we have Sufi Muslims, and then we have agnostic, spirituals, Zoroastrians, atheists, Jews, and all, so and so and so. So overall, Iran. So overall, what we can say that Iran is a Shiite country. Now let us come back to our main topic of discussion, that is the ongoing protest in the Iran. So protests basically began in the month of September when the morality police of Iran took into custody a young woman who was a Kurdish, who was from the Kurdish ethnicity known by the name of Mahsa Amini into the custody, and in the custody of the police, Mahsa Amini was found to be dead. The woman was very young, just 22 years old, 22 years old in the age. Due to this death of Mahsa Amini, it caused large-scale furor among the young population of Iran, especially among the female section or the female population of Iran. And since then, the protest has erupted in almost all the major centers, all the major cities of Iran. Until now, in the last 2 months, as far as the report that has been published by Iran Human Rights NGO, that is based in the Norway, it has said that 326 people have been killed by the Iranian security forces, and many children are also included in that. We talk about the protest. As of now, though the protest makeup is composed of large number of people from different age groups, from different ethnicity, from different religious belongings, despite that, students and the young women, they are the major part of the protest, and they continue to play a prominent role in the ongoing protest. If we try to discuss more about the nature of the protest, what we can see that almost all the major Iran cities as well as the university campus, obviously because mostly it is young population, youth population who is participating in the protest, with large crowds that goes on the streets chanting the name of the killed woman, and also they are protesting against the attempt by the current president, who is Ibrahim Raisi's regime, to impose a strict hijab rule. The women, when they go out for protest, they are continuously, we can see and hear the chant of women, life, and freedom, and we will fight and take Iran back. Now, take Iran back to here. That is something we'll discuss in the later part of the video. If we talk about the nature of this protest, what experts come to agree that protest is not only about the death of a single individual woman, but it is a large-scale protest against the crippling of human dignity and individual rights in the current regime of Iran. Also, the central theme of project hangs around recognition of women as the primary victim of the Iranian current regime's male-dominated tradition and the strict Islamist ideology. To give you an example, the case that we discussed about Mahsa Amini, where she was killed under the custody of morality police. So morality police basically has a single duty, that is they have to enforce the Islamic code of conduct, and they have to enforce that the way how a particular hijab should be worn is worn in the same manner by the woman. If some woman is not wearing the hijab as per the proper code and conduct of Islamic rules, then she can be penalized and she can be even put into jail. So that is the whole duty of morality police, and that is one way how Iranian regime try to cripple the rights of the women in Iran. And this is all the protest is all about. Now we know that Iran has suffered several protests in the past decades as well. For example, in 1990s, 2019 also we have many protests, but all these protests without causing any significant changes in the regime have died out. However, what makes this protest unique? So what we can see that unlike the previous social movements such as in 2009 and 2017, the current protest does not seem to be going down. And the main reason behind this is believed to be because in the present time, Iranian teenagers and the students have become more and more courageous, especially if you compare them with their parent generation, and they have become more resilient than their parents, and that is why they are not fearful of the crackdown or the brutal crackdown of Iranian regime. And that is why not only that, even the legitimacy of the Iran's government, especially the moral legitimacy, is gradually wearing thin and thin. And it is believed that now, due to current continuous decline of the moral legitimacy of the government, it does not matter whether we talk about the military institutions or whether we talk about the political institution, they do not carry any liability, especially among the youth population of the Iran. And not only that, it's the general masses that is participating in this particular protest, but as the protest has gained more and more momentum, we can see a participation of Iranian artists, intellectuals, as well as athletes, which are showing striking similar solidarity with the protesters. So question comes that due to this mass or large scale protest, how the government of Iran has responded and what they have said about this protest. So to quote Major General Hussein Salami, who is the Director General of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is the elite force of Iran, he has said that it is not the people of Iran who are participating in the protest or who want protest, but rather they are being incited by the foreign powers such as US, UK, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Now, this is something that you will see the current themes are there, that you will see in almost all the dictatorial regime, wherever any protest arises, especially to that can actually cause the change in the regime. They basically try to focus their attention not inside but outside, and they try to illegitimize the protest by saying that it is the foreign hands that is in the play in the country, and that is why the whole, we can say, legitimacy of the project does not stand in the eyes of the government. Also, to have a brutal crackdown on this particular protest, the government have arrested almost 130 human rights defenders, 38 women's rights defenders, 36 political activists, and almost 19 lawyers. And showing solidarity with the government, the Iranian parliament, that is known by the name of Majlis, so 227 of the Iranian parliamentarians, they have urged the country's judiciary to not show any kind of leniency to the protester that has been arrested. And to give you a figure, almost 13,000 protesters have been arrested all across the country in last 2 months. Now, what has been the global reaction as far as this particular protest and the Iran's response is concerned? Now, as far as the Western world is concerned, such as European Union, US, and Canada, so they have sanctioned regime officials who are believed to be responsible for the crackdown on the Iranian protesters. Now, again, to remind you, Iran is already a sanctioned country. It is one of the most heavily sanctioned country, and before the Russia invaded Ukraine, it was the most sanctioned country as far as the Western world is concerned. And now Russia has basically become more sanctioned as compared to Iran. As far as United Nations is concerned, so UNSC have called many informal meetings, and there they have discussed about the human right violations that is being done by the Iran's government. Not only that, if we talk about the UN General Assembly, there has been a continuous discussion that is going on where the talk is about to remove the Iran from UN's Commission on the Status of Women, because this particular commission is focused on gender equality and the empowerment of women, which the other parties believe Iran is continuously trampling upon. So the question comes that since 2 months have passed, the protest is gaining momentum. Protest does not seem to die out in the coming time. Can the movement and the protest achieve its goal? So if you look at the past precedent, what we can see that as far as the goal of regime change is concerned, it is very difficult to be achieved by just a mass movement, because any kind of regime change or large scale changes require a charismatic leader and a political agenda that can replace the current or existing government. So this is something that is missing from this current protest. Also, if you look at the past incident, we can see that many times, especially the countries which have a dictatorial kind of regime, they have a decade long practice of internet control. They have this use of vigilantism and stifling of civic activism and draconian police method. So by these methods, they are basically they develop this habit and they develop this expertise to control any kind of mass movement or to quell any kind of violent or even non-violent protest. And thus, no regime, however unpopular, can be overturned by a people's movement without also the army switching its side, which seems very difficult in the current context. If you look at right from the revolution that has happened in the France, that is French Revolution, to even the current revolution that has happened in Sri Lanka, what we see, the success of revolution is always brought by the police personnel, army switching sides from being loyal to the government to being loyal to the protesters, and that is something that is missing in Iran. So that is why, though the protest seems to gain momentum, whether it will be able to achieve its political objective is still not very clear. Now let us try to understand the background of the Iran. The current protest basically refers to the imposition of the Hijab rule. So the question automatically comes that was Hijab always compulsory in Iran? So let us look at the history of Iran. Between 1921 to 1936, Iran was governed by a dynasty that is called as Pahlavi dynasty. And the rulers of Pahlavi dynasty basically tried to rapidly modernize Iran. However, they were forced out of office by the Western powers after 15 years. That means in 1936, the Reza Pahlavi, who was the ruler of the Iran, Reza Khan, who was the ruler of Iran at that time, because of his ties with the Nazi regime of Germany, was forced out of the power or forced out of the government. Then further next development happening in 1941 when Muhammad Reza Pahlavi took the helm of the Iran, and he was very much closely associated with the Western powers, and thus he also put Iran on the path of rapid westernization and modernization. It was during this time the Iranian women also have almost similar right as men, and the dressing of Iran was very liberal in nature, especially the women's dressing was very liberal in nature. Hijab was not mandatory and women can wear whatever they want. Also, the education of the women was much more focused upon. So what we can say that under the Reza Pahlavi's regime, Iran was much more progressive country with a greater right as far as the women population is concerned. However, in year 1979, Iranian revolution rocked the country and the Reza Pahlavi was thrown out of the power by a coalition that was opposed to the brutal and autocratic rule of Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. Thus, in 1979, when the Iranian Revolution finally succeeded, the clergy of Iran, which were basically Shia clergy, they took the control of the country under the moral leadership of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. After the death of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the clergy was followed by, or we can say, the theocratic regime of Iran was governed by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and below him there is a president rule, and after that we have the parliament and all. So what we can say about the conclusion, we can say that by pushing the narrative about the protest that is benefiting external enemies, the Iranian regime currently is hoping to appeal to the nationalist sentiment in Iran while also justifying its violent crackdown. So what we can see that this kind of protest has happened before also in Iran, and they were brutally, we can say, there was a brutal crackdown, and it eventually died out. So maybe this protest will also eventually die down, but without any kind of genuine reform, without talking about the women's right in Iran. Iran's leader might well be engaging in a temporary firefighting exercises, because even if this phase of revolt dies out, there is no guarantee that after few years again revolution will not begin. And if this happens again and again, gradually the credibility of Iran's regime will go down, not only in the eyes of the Iranian population, but also in the eyes of the global government. And that is what something that the Iranian government cannot basically choose to ignore. So I hope that whatever the end result of this revolt is, hopefully it will bring peace, prosperity, and progress to the Iranian country and the Iranian population. So that is all about this particular issue. I hope you understood about the brief concept behind the Iranian revolution. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your fellow aspirant, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. Thank you very much.